Hey, what's up guys? It's Pedro here from noobcoder.com, and in this tutorial we're going to be creating a Fortnite Stat Tracker using FortniteTracker.com's API. So the following technologies that we're going to be using is basically jQuery, Node, Express, Bootstrap. So I assume that you're at least familiar with these technologies. Now to get started, I just want to take a look at the application that we're going to be building. So it's pretty basic. It takes the username of the individual you want to look up. So let's say I want to look up the best player in the world. So I can say noobcoder.com. And then I check what platform he's on. Is he on PC, Xbox Live, PSN? So obviously PC. Hit submit. And you can see that this user has 232 solos, 46 duos, and 61 team wins. If I was to give another example, so let's say Ninja, I could hit submit. And you can see that Ninja has over 1,000 solos, over 1,000 duos, and over 200 team wins. So this is basically the application that we're going to be building from scratch. So to start off, I actually want to start with the backend. So we're going to do Node.js, Express.js, and that stuff. So we're actually going to exit out of all this. At least I am. And I'm just going to close this. And we're going to start off fresh. And what I want to do is I already created an empty folder. So you can see that nothing's in it. And we're just going to go to it. So I'm just going to open up Node. So I'm just going to clear that. And actually, I'm going to start with a new prompt. Then I'm going to change to the E drive. Then I'm going to change directory to my new folder. Then I'm going to type npm init. So we're creating a new Node project. Package name looks good to me. Version is good. Description, Fortnite Stat Tracker. Enter. Index.js is going to be our starting point. Test command doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, and doesn't matter. So just hit enter to everything. So right here, we should get a package.json to show that everything's working. Now let's head over to Visual Studio Code, which is what I'm using. I'm going to say open folder. I'm going to go to E drive. I'm going to say new YouTube. I am going to go to tutorials, JavaScript, Fortnite Stat Tracker. And again, this new folder could be inserted anywhere. Doesn't matter. So now we're in the folder that we currently want to be. And remember, our entry point to this Node application is index.js. So I'm just going to say new file. We're going to say index.js. So this is going to be our starting point. And let's actually get rid of this. Hit Control B. And now I want to install our Node.js dependencies. So let's head back to our Node.js command prompt. And I'm just going to say npm install express. Pass a save flag because we're going to be using Express within this project. Once that's done, we're going to install the path module. Now, I'm using the path module because I want to serve static files. So the HTML document, the JavaScript that runs client side. So that's why I'm using the path module. Next, I'm going to say npm install request. And request is how we're going to make our HTTP request. So we're going to use this module to make a request to the Fortnite Tracker API. And last but not least, we are going to install the body parser. And this is because we're going to use jQuery in the front end to post JSON to our backend, so to post JSON to Node.js. So now that we have all our packages installed, let's head back to our editor. And here, let's actually require them. So I'm just going to say var express. I'm going to say require express. And this should be very familiar to you. We're just including the stuff that we just installed. So var path is going to require, what am I typing? Require path. And var request is going to require request. And last but not least, our body parser require body parser. Now let's actually tell our application to use the body parser. So I'm just going to go to Edge here, and this is official documentation from the Express.js website. So to save some typing, I'm just going to copy this, head over to my editor, let's paste it. I don't want to store any of these in variables, so I'm just going to delete all this. And now we're just going to tell our Express application to use this body parser. So I'm just going to say app.use and pass this in as an argument. App.use, end this with semicolons, and we should be good to go with body parser. So now let's tell our application where our static files are going to be. So I'm just going to head over to Edge, and I already looked this up beforehand, so expressjs.com, and I'm just going to copy this, and we're using the path module now. Head over to our editor, paste this, and I'm only going to switch up one thing, and you do not have to do this at all. I like naming this public and this static. This is basically the folder that we're going to keep all our static stuff. So HTML, JavaScript, images, stuff like that. And this is like the virtual folder that's going to be made available that we can use on the client side. So let's not forget to end this with a semicolon. And now I actually want to create this static folder. So I'm just going to hit Control B. And the reason I want to do it now is because I don't want to forget. So new folder, we're going to call it static. We're going to create two files. We're going to create index.html. And we're going to create the actual client-side JavaScript file. So I called it Fortnite Tracker.js. And you can actually put all your JavaScript in a folder within this, but this is just a tutorial, and you could organize your stuff however you want. So we're not going to touch any of these two files now, so I'm just going to close them out. Control B, and let's continue with the back end. So now I just want to set up my endpoints, so I'm just going to say app.get. And this is basically going to serve our index.html page. So it's going to be our home page. And function, we're going to say res request. Oh, it's request.res. And here we are actually going to send the user the file. So I'm just going to say res.send file. And we're going to use the path module again. So I'll say path.join _ dir name plus, and you got to remember what our folder name was. It's called static and index.html. So this is basically all that this web page does. And we also want a post. Now this post is going to be for when JQuery posts the data that we're going to get in from the user. So I'm just going to say app.post, and we're going to use the same string, and we're going to say function request response. And here is where we're going to use the request module to actually make a HTTP request to the Fortnite Tracker API. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at the Fortnite Tracker API. So I have it open here. And basically you go up here, click API, and you basically sign up with them, and they'll give you an API key. So your key page should look like this. And it's telling you to make a GET request using this URI. Obviously, you got to replace platform with the desired platform. So it tells you what parameters to use. So PC, Xbox Live, PSN. And then the last parameter would be your actual Epic nickname. So in our example, I used noobcoder.com. And I also used Ninja as an example. And for authentication, we have to add this to the header of our request. So let's actually copy this, because I just don't want to keep tabbing back and forth. Go back to our editor. Let's say var URI. Let's paste this in. Let's get rid of platform and nickname. I'm just going to comment this so I know what parameters to pass in. Platform, nickname. We also need this. Again, I'm just copying this to make it easier. I'm just going to comment all this out for now. And this is our key that we're going to put in our header when we make our request. So this is all the information that we needed, so we can actually get started and actually make a request to the server. So now we're just going to use the request module. So I'm just going to say request.get, because remember the API said use a GET request. And we're going to pass it the URI. And we're going to use some placeholders at the current moment. So this is going to be a platform. And platform, obviously, we're going to substitute for PC, Xbox, or PSN. So keep in mind that this is just a placeholder for now. So we're just building the URI right now. And then the last thing we need to pass in was the Epic username. And here we're going to pass our headers. So I'm just going to pass it in, and we're just going to say headers. And we're just going to pass it what they told us to pass it. So they said pass in your API key within the header. So that's what we're going to do. And we need to convert these to strings. So don't forget to do that. Alright, that looks good. And now we actually pass our callback. So I don't know what Microsoft Visual Studio just did there. So let's try this again. Function. And it's going to take in error, response, and body. And here, if everything went right, we can just say console.log the body. And that's where all our data is going to be. And we can say res.json the body. So we're sending this data back to the front end, back so jQuery can manipulate it and present it to the user. And last but not least, we're going to have to set up our port. So what port does our application listen to? So I'm going to say var port, and we're going to say process.environment.port or 3000. So that's our port, and this is basically if we deploy it to an external server, and this is going to be used if we're on our local machine. And then we're going to say app.listen, and pass in the port. And that's pretty much it for the backend. So we completed the backend. all we need to do now is actually replace these fillers that we get from the front end. And we have a fully functional backend, so this should work. And I want to get started working in the front end. So through the magic of video editing, I have this Notepad application already up. And we're going to use this as our starting template for our HTML file. So I'm going to hit Control B, go to our blank index.html, and let's paste this in. Control B again. And this is going to be our starting point. So to start off, I actually want to bring in Bootstrap. So I'm just going to go here, my little cheat sheet that I set up before making this video. And we are just going to copy the dependencies that Bootstrap has. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it before the end of the body. Okay, this looks good. But we're actually going to get rid of the jQuery. And the reason for this is because this is the slimmed down version of jQuery. We actually need the full version of jQuery because we're going to use Ajax. So let's go to jQuery. Let's get the CDN version. Copy this. Paste this here. And let's actually make it presentable. Okay, this looks good. And let's head back here. And for Bootstrap, we needed our CSS. So here, let's just copy this and put this at the end of our head. Okay, so we have Bootstrap and we should be ready to go. Now I just want to set up the grid for our Bootstrap application. So I'm just going to say Shift Tab just to make that nice. I'm going to say div class, and we're going to give this container. I'm going to say style, and that's because I want to be not touching the top of the browser. So I'm just going to give it a margin on the top. And I'm just going to say 12 EM. So this looks good. And now within here, we could say class div. And we could give this a row. And I could say div class. And here I could say column large 3. And we're just going to copy this 2 more times. And we're going to change this to 6. So this is where we're going to store one of our Bootstrap components. And we're just going to copy and paste this 1 more time. And this is where we're going to store the result of our request. So now let's actually bring in our Bootstrap components. So I'm going to use the input group. And this is the one that I liked. So this is the one that you saw in the demo. So we're just going to copy this. Head over to my editor, and we're going to paste it inside here. Okay, so I hate when you copy something and the paste, the formatting is all off. So let's just fix this, tidy this up a bit. Okay, so this looks good for now. And what I want to do is actually give IDs. So let's look at our text field. So here's our input for text. And let's give it an ID so we can access it with jQuery. So I'm going to say epic nickname. So this is where the user is going to put your epic username basically. And let's look at our submit button. So let's give this the ID of submit. And let's change this, instead of saying action, we're going to say submit. And let's take a look at our drop down menu. And let's actually indent this so it looks presentable. Now we don't need a separator and we don't need this either. So let's get rid of that. And let's give our drop down menu an ID so we can access this as well. So let's give it platform. And here we can just type PC, Xbox Live, and these are all the platforms that Epic has, and PSN. Okay, so this all looks pretty good. Let's go one beneath here, and this is where we are going to put our results. So I'm just going to give this an attribute of results. So now let's actually try to run this. Control S to save our index and our index for Node.js. Head over to Node.js command prompt, and I'm going to say node index.js, and hopefully we don't get any errors because we've been coding for a while now. And now I'm just going to say localhost, and this looks good. So we saw that our static file, our index.html, is being served, and this is basically our beginning, and all we need to do is now do our client-side JavaScript post to our backend Node.js. So Node.js will make a request to Fortnite Tracker API, and then we're going to send whatever they send us back to JQuery, and JQuery is going to handle everything else. Now let's head back to our editor, and let's actually include our script. So let's go down here, and we're going to say script source, and this should be public, I believe. Yeah, it should be public. And we called it Fortnite Tracker.js. Actually, I don't think we need this backslash. So I'm going to hit Control S to save. Let's go back here. Hit refresh. And basically what I want to do is make sure that we have no errors. So let's hit Control B, Fortnite Tracker. Just want to make sure that this is being loaded Fortnite Tracker JS file. So I'm going to hit refresh, and you can see that our JavaScript file is working perfectly fine. So let's head back here, Control B, and let's remove this. Now let's start actually coding. Let's start with our document.ready. So I'm just going to say $function. And here, let's get our buttons, the stuff that we gave IDs to. So I'm just going to say var submit button, and we're going to say $number, and we gave it an ID of submit. Next, we have our drop-down menu. And you could give your variable names shorter, obviously make them shorter. I just like to make sure that if it's a button that I say that, hey, this is a button. And here we want the A elements within our platform ID. So that's going to be our PC, our Xbox Live, our PSN. And next we are going to do epic nickname. Let's get that. So epic nickname. So this is our input field. Next we're going to get our results. Store it in here. And not $. Results. And I want to give a default value that we're going to use throughout our program. So I'm just going to comment default values. And I'm going to say var dropdown value. And this is going to have the value of PC. So if the user does not specify what platform they're on, PC, Xbox, or PlayStation, default it to PC. Now let's get to the fun stuff. So let's actually add events to our button. So I'm just going to say submit button dot click, pass in the function, and we are basically going to send the data back to our Node.js server. So I'm just going to say var data, assign it an empty object literal, and I'm going to say data dot epic nickname is going to be assigned the value of epic nickname dot val dot to lowercase. Now you will need dot to lowercase. I've tried it earlier with developing this. If you have a capital P and then a lowercase c, you're actually going to get an error in the response. So make sure that the user's input is lowercase. Next, I want to handle the drop-down menu. So I'm just going to say data.dropdown. Let's call it drop-down value. Is going to be assigned drop-down value dot to lowercase. Put it down here. Okay, just check to see if that's good. So the drop-down value is equal to drop-down value to lowercase. Alright, so now that we have our data, this is the data that we're going to send to the back to our Node.js. So now we need to make an AJAX call. So now I'm just going to say $ AJAX, parentheses, and now we're going to pass in our options. So the type of requests that we're going to do is obviously post. We're going to post data to our database, to our backend. Next, the URL, if you remember, was this / or /, however you want to call it. The data type that we're going to send is JSON. Next, we're going to pass in our data. Finally, we're going to say, hey, if this was successful, execute this. I'll say data is going to be parsed because we need to convert it back to a JavaScript object. So we're getting JSON. We need to convert that JSON into JavaScript. Pass in data. And now here, I actually made a function that's going to display this data to the user. So we haven't created this function yet, but we will. So I'm just going to say display data, and we're going to pass in our data. So this looks actually pretty good. I also created a reset result. And this is also a function, and it's basically going to reset our application. So once the user clicks submit, reset everything. So this looks good. Now let's add an event listener to our drop-down button. So let's add it here. So I'm just going to say platform drop-down button dot click function. And within here, I'm just going to give it update our drop-down value. And we're just going to say pass in this dot text. Now, remember up here, this is going to be converted to lowercase, so you don't have to worry about it. And I'm just getting the text that's within that element. And we're updating the default value that we set up here. So the default value is PC. So let's say if they click Xbox, I'm saying, hey, update it now. And here we forgot to add a semicolon. And while we're at it, let's code the reset result function. So I'm just going to say function reset result. And here I'm just going to say results.html and clear it out. And I'm going to say epic nickname.val. And we're going to clear that out as well. And now the last thing we need to code is our display data. So I'm just going to copy this. And we're going to say function display data, pass in. And we passed in the data from our success call. And now all we need to do is actually display the data to the user. Now this is going to be a major pain in the butt because we're doing it in jQuery and we're not using any templating language, I suppose. So I'm just going to say var epic user handle. It's going to be assigned data.epic user handle. And if you're wondering where I'm pulling these from, it's because I previously pulled the data. We haven't done that yet in this tutorial, but we're going to take a look at the data and you can see what kind of information you can actually pull with the response that they give you. And here we're going to actually write out our list. And we're going to head to Bootstrap and let's see. We need our list group, so I'm just going to open this in a new tab. And we're not going to do anything crazy, so let's just use this list. And now the fun part begins. Now we got to convert this HTML to a string. And I was joking about the fun part, but let's actually do it. So we only need 3 of these, so we have solos, duos, and teams, right? So 1, 2, 3, and let's get rid of these 2. And here, just start converting it to a string. Plus sign, highlight this, convert this to a string, and within here, I can say solo wins, right? So I could say solo. So plus, convert this to a string, and within here is going to be our data. So I'm just going to put an empty string here for now. Hit plus, highlight this, plus sign, get rid of all this, hit duos, and hit plus, empty string as a placeholder, plus, highlight this. Okay, we're almost done. Well, we're not almost done because we have another component that we're gonna convert into a string. I know, right? jQuery sucks. Probably should have used React when creating this, but hindsight is 2020. I'm gonna hit this, and we are finally done. Now again, I'm just gonna replace the empty holders that we had, and I'm just gonna say data.stats.p2. Now p2 represents solos in the data. Top 1 is obviously if you're top 1, you won the game, and then just the value. And I'm just gonna copy this. And again, when I actually call the API and we actually look at it together, you'll be able to see this. So P10 is duos. By the way, I have no idea why they named it P2, P10, and P9. It's pretty weird, to be honest with you. Alright, so we're done with our list component. Now let's do like our master card component. We're going to put the list inside our card bootstrap component. So I'm just going to name it template. And let's head over back to get bootstrap. And this is actually the card I want. So I'm just going to copy this. And again, we're going to convert it into a string. So let's actually tab this. And card header. So let's start from the beginning because I don't want to mess up. Say plus, highlight the whole thing, plus, and within here, I actually want to pass in our Epic user handle. So this is actually the name of the person that we are looking up. So I'm just going to put this here. Add a plus, highlight this, and say plus, that, plus, that, plus, and actually within here, I think I put wins. So this is like a label to like what we're actually looking at. So we have wins here. Convert that to a string. Put that to a string. Plus, and within this card text, we're actually gonna put the list that we created above, and we're gonna insert it in here. So have our list, copy this list, put it here. Now the reason I put it as 2 strings as opposed to 1 is that I don't want to confuse the hell out of myself. So break it down into smaller stuff and then you can insert it in like that. Let's comment this. Actually, we don't need a button, so let's actually get rid of that. Make this a string. Plus sign, convert this to a string. Okay, so this all looks good. I just want to tidy this up a bit, tab it. And now we can actually say results.html and pass in the template that we just made. Now we're actually done with the front end stuff, so I'm going to hit Control S to save. And we're going to take a trip to the back end. And remember our placeholder, so our platform and our Epic username. So remember that this is going to post here. So if I go back to our back end, you can see that our post, and it's here. So now we need to access that data, right? So we had our 2 placeholders here. And now we can actually change that to what they actually passed in. So I'm just going to print out the request body so we can see that they passed it in. But within here, since I already did this already, I can just say request body.platform drop down button. That's going to give us our PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and our Epic username is going to be request body.epic nickname. So this should all work, and I really hope it does work. So let's hit Control S to save. Everything is updated. And remember, when you update something in the backend, you have to restart the server. So I'm just going to say node index.js. And hopefully this thing does not explode on us. Let's hit refresh. Okay. Let's say noobcoder.com. We're going to select PC. Hit submit. Let's see. We either got an error or it's taking a while to load. So Epic nickname, noobcoder.com. Oh, I get it. It's supposed to be drop down value. I think we had some weird name in there. So request.body.drop down value. Control S to save. Restart the server. And I'm just going to clear it. And I'm going to say node index.js. Then we're going to hit refresh. noobcoder.com. PC. Hit refresh. Hit submit, I mean. And we appear to have an error. So let's actually see if we could figure out the error. We can see that we're not getting a response back. So this, when I hit post, this is obviously getting hit because we get our printout from the request body. But this request.get is not printing out the body. So I wonder what's actually happening here. Alright. Okay, so actually we're missing a semicolon, so let's try that. Control S to save. And Control C. Start the server again. Type newcoder.com, submit it. See that nickname, okay, that's getting printed. Still no response from this function, so. Okay, I see the error. So, I'm missing a, I think I'm missing a parentheses. Yeah. No. Not the parentheses. Oh, maybe I have too many parentheses. No, that's not it. Okay, something's going on here. This function is blue, and this function is whatever color this is. It's probably a curly braces somewhere. Okay, I get it. So, yeah, and then I just removed that. Okay, so this looks like it should work now. So the reason that this didn't work is the second argument is supposed to be an object, and this object has headers, and it's passing in this in the headers. So we forgot the extra braces. So let's hit Control C, and I'm gonna say node index.js, and we're gonna say noobcoder.com, hit submit, and there we go. Now you probably want this centered, so we can actually use a bootstrap class called text center, and we can actually stick it in here. So I can just say text and center. Control S to save. And let's actually test it with another person. Hit submit. It's probably because I didn't hit refresh. So I type ninja. And now you can see that we successfully created our Fortnite Stat application. And if you want to take a look at the data that we got from FortniteTracker.com, their API, you can see that we get a lot more data than what I'm printing out here. So again, you should take your time and go through these and see what you can create. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.